The dilemma of selfish versus selfless. Somewhere between martyrdom and narcissism, there's a tightrope, and every honest man walks it sooner or later. The world speaks as if it's simple: be selfless, and you're good, or be selfish, and you're bad. But no real life has ever worked like that, because the question isn't, are you selfish or selfless? The real question is, whose life are you carrying and why? See, selfishness is not always what it looks like, and neither is selflessness. A man who gives everything away might still be feeding his ego, and a man who walks away from the table might finally be saving his life. So let's slow it down. Selfish. What does it mean? To put yourself first, to think of your needs, to protect your space, to make decisions that others might not like, but that you know are right for you. Now ask, is that evil or is that honest? Because somewhere along the line, someone sold us the lie that taking care of yourself is a betrayal, that boundaries are cruelty, that rest is laziness, that saying no makes you cold. And this lie has broken more people than selfishness ever did. See, the world will use that lie to keep you tired, soft, and compliant. And if you don't get clear about it, you'll confuse your own health for harm. You'll wear yourself thin, call it virtue, and wonder why no one thanks you. But here's the twist. Selflessness isn't always good either. It can be a mask. It can be a form of control. It can be the long, slow suicide of someone who is too afraid to speak up. There are people who serve others all day long, not because they're kind, but because they're terrified of being alone. There are people who say yes to everything because they're too scared to say yes to themselves. So what's the answer? It isn't a balance. It's an integrity. You live from the center of your truth, and you let the labels fall where they may. There are days when the most righteous act you can commit is to say, not today. I need this one for me. And there are days when you lay yourself down in the fire for someone else because you love them more than your comfort. But both actions come from the same place. You knew what was true for you, and you acted on it. That's not selfish. That's not selfless. That's sovereign. The real poison comes when we make selflessness a religion, when we praise the man who dies for others but ignore the one who dares to live for himself. The truth is, you cannot give what you do not own. If your cup is empty, your service is hollow. If your soul is sick, your kindness is poison. You've got to know when the giving is genuine and when it's a disguise for shame, guilt, or fear. And here's the thing most people don't want to admit. Sometimes love looks like leaving. Sometimes kindness sounds like no. Sometimes the most generous thing you can do is to disappear until you find yourself again. You cannot serve the world by betraying yourself. You cannot love others well if you secretly resent them. You cannot call it virtue if it costs you your truth. So how do you walk that line? You listen. You listen harder than anyone else. Not to the crowd, not to the guilt, not to the shoulds and should-nots. You listen to the soul inside you that whispers what's right. And some days, that soul will ask you to give everything. And some days, it will ask you to walk away with everything. Both are holy. Both are whole. So don't be fooled by the false choice. You are not selfish for wanting to live. You are not selfish for needing space. You are not selfish for saying yes to your own fire. And you are not weak for pouring yourself out when it's time. You are not foolish for loving hard. You are not wrong for caring deeply. You are a human being, and there is no equation for that, only a pulse, a path, a prayer, and a fierce kind of listening. So forget the labels. Be true instead. That's the only way you'll ever know if what you gave was a gift or a wound. That's the only way to give without regret, and that's the only way to receive without guilt. You don't owe anyone your suffering, but you do owe yourself your honesty. So walk the line, not between selfish and selfless, but between the man they trained you to be and the man you came here to become